Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, primary election day is fast approaching. Who's leading the polls? Will inflation and the economy be the most important issue in Maryland elections? And why hasn't the county council or the county executive spoken out after a gunman was arrested outside of Justice Brett Kavanaugh's Chevy Chase home? Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the Dean of Democratic Politics, Sam Statland, and President of the Montgomery County Federation of Republican Women, Laurie Halverson. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. You have to be living under a rock if you haven't noticed how coarse and mean the public discourse has become over the past 20 years. Ironically, for the leadership, Montgomery County class of 2001, the theme that year was on civil discourse and how to make it better. Well, those LM graduates must now feel cheated, that their year of study was worthless, since now we are bombarded day in and day out by vicious verbal attacks on social media. This week, however, those verbal attacks became all too real when a man armed with a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol was arrested outside of the Chevy Chase home of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh and readily confessed that he was there to murder Justice Kavanaugh. Sam, what's happened to our society that can lead someone to think that the assassination of a Supreme Court justice is the way to address a political problem?
This issue has been going on, as you said, for years now. And the true underlying root of this is that we have a lot of people who are most concerned that the white majority that this country has had for years is being replaced by people of color. And they're losing control of that issue. And instead of working with people in society, as we have here in Montgomery County, what you see is people becoming angry about it. And that anger is displaced in attacks on the court systems, on shootings in schools, on just about every anti-society mote that you can get and leadership that promotes it. And I think, Casey, that is the root cause.
Well, Sam, I have to take some umbrage with the fact that I don't think that the replacement theory is the cause of this. You must have been ignoring the political riots that occurred during 2020 when cities were burning, and they weren't white rioters that were burning those cities. They were African-American rioters that were burning those cities. So it's not just a white problem here, Sam. It's a societal problem. And we can't point fingers at either side and expect it to be solved. This is a problem that everyone is experiencing.
What was the root cause of the riots, Casey? The root cause of the riots were people being unmercifully killed and attacked within their cities, within that community. And they reacted. And how did they react? They rioted.
They rioted. And do you think that the same people that were rioting at Lafayette Square in front of the White House were rioting for the same reason? Sam, this is a danger to our society and a danger to our culture. But we have to move on, because what's occurring right now, the threat to a sitting Supreme Court justice is outrageous. It shouldn't be tolerated or promoted by any political party. Laurie, Governor Hogan tweeted out a message that he was appalled by the threat against Justice Kavanaugh, but we've heard nothing from Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich, nothing from County Person Andrew Friedson, whose district Kavanaugh lives in, and neither one have demanded that these attacks stop. There are people protesting daily in front of this man's house. It's where his wife is. It's where his children live. And they will not stop it or speak out against it. That's appalling. Why not?
I think that the reason, now hold on, Sam, it's my turn to talk. I want to say that I think that the Democrats are bound by the pressures of their own party to speak out for what's right. And it's against the law to protest at a Supreme Court justice's home. Yet Merrick Garland is still allowing people to stand there and protest. Good for Hogan and Governor Youngkin for speaking out. Of course, that they're Republicans, and that's something that we would expect. But when the January 6th event occurred, immediately you saw Republicans coming out. All the elected officials were decrying what happened and said this was wrong. But what's going on with the Democrat Party when they can't speak up against something they know is right? I don't know why they're not speaking up. And I think they should be arrested while they're just protesting. They shouldn't be out there protesting. You shouldn't just arrest someone who's planning to kill someone. You need to arrest all the people that are out there protesting, put them on the no-fly list, make it a serious problem. We should not allow this. Our justices should be protected. They should not be pressured to.
Right, we got to give Sam, Sam the last word here. Sam.
Said, I hope I'm not living in a bubble, but I happened to be watching the January 6th hearings yesterday, and the obstructionists to the hearings and the obstructionists to gun control. And there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with banning military weapons or clips that allow people.
We're not talking about this, Sam. We're talking about the threat to a Montgomery County resident of Chevy Chase, Maryland, by the county executive and the county council member who represents that district hasn't done anything.
I don't know what you expect them to do, Casey, because I can tell you that both Mark and Glass also supported the police department and their actions, and the police department has improved in public safety. And the hero of this whole operation was the 911 operator who kept the guy on the phone, kept him calm to the point where she told him that the police were coming. He accepted that. He didn't resist that, and the matter was handled, and the guy was arrested. And
thank goodness, I agree
right,
there.
Sam, we're going to break.
So,
Sam, that may be true, but this county council and this county executive will send out a press release or a tweet if someone burps in Montgomery County, and they're not even addressing the issue that there was someone violent outside of Justice Kavanaugh's home. And to the point, Sam, protesters have taken pictures of Justice Kavanaugh's children's school and have sent them to his wife. That is a direct threat. They're trying to intimidate the court, and that shouldn't be tolerated. I'm sorry. We got to go on to our next. We got to go to our break. We come back from this short break. The primary election day is fast approaching. Who's leading the polls? And will inflation and the economy be the most important issue in Maryland elections? Stay tuned. Welcome back. The delayed primary elections now being held on July 19th are fast approaching. Finally, there is polling data regarding the candidates and where they stand. We're going to take a look at the most important races for which there's some data available. Sam, first up is the Democratic primary race for governor. Montgomery County is surprisingly well represented in the field of candidates, and according to the polls, Comptroller Peter Franchot is leading the race with 20%. And despite endorsements from former President Barack Obama, former Department of Labor Secretary Tom Perez, and a council member from Silver Spring and from Montgomery County is lagging behind newcomer Wes Moore. What's your take on the race?
I think that Peter has laid a really great foundation for himself as comptroller. He's been all over and throughout the state. People appreciate the job that he's done. Financially, the state is in really good shape, and I think that goes a long way to give him the lead that he has. The Moore campaign, however, is raising money like crazy. His name recognition is increasing throughout the state. The lead that he has, if I recall, is about a 7-point lead with, what do we have, 6 weeks to go?
Right.
And this is a battle. This is going to be a battle, I think, between those two. Tom Perez also can get going, but he seems to be really behind. And I think in the streets, in the grassroots, that it's going to boil down to Moore and Peter for that race.
Well, I think Baltimore County is going to actually come in for Francho in a big way. He's well known up in the Baltimore region. I'm not sure West Moore has that same name recognition. We'll see
Well,
what happens.
Peter, he reminds me of Louis. Peter Francho reminds me of Louis, because Louis was always out. He was always across the state, talking, asking questions, trying to do things that benefited the voters of the state of Maryland. And I think he's done a great job at that. And I think that's what gives him his lead. I think it's a good identification.
Well, and the Louis you're referring to is Louis Goldstein, who was both the long-term comptroller of the state of Maryland. Laurie, in the Republican race to succeed two-term Republican Governor Larry Hogan, Delegate Dan Cox and former Commerce Secretary Kelly Schultz are in a statistical dead heat. What's up there?
You know, this is a reason that it's very important for Republicans to come out and vote at the primary, because this is a very close race. And they're both very different candidates. Cox is a Trump supporter, and Kelly Schultz is represented. She's really got the power of the Hogan administration and behind her. So she is a more moderate candidate. Dan Cox is, he's endorsed by President Trump. Very different candidates. And it's going to be interesting to see what Republicans will choose, because, the other day, it's hard to find any debates between the two. It looks like Kelly Schultz is usually not choosing to be in debates with Dan Cox. However, they were in a forum this week, and it was the Bethesda magazine, and she was asked about the January 6th unfortunate situation that happened. And she did acknowledge, she said it was an insurrection. And I think most Republicans would not like that, like to hear her call that event an insurrection, when the FBI has said, no, it's not, that's not what it was. So I think she needs to do some things to appeal to all Republicans. Same with Dan Cox. He needs to work on appealing to the more moderate candidates, more moderate voters in the Republican Party. It'll be very interesting.
So, Laurie, let me ask you, don't you think that Republicans are kind of over Trump? I mean, that Trump has lost his hold on the party. Isn't that what this election?
I don't know if it's a hold. I think a lot of Republicans are now saying, oh, I didn't like Trump, but I sure did like everything he did. And I wish we could be back in that, situation with the economy that we had back then, with lower prices on our gas. And everything else. I feel like a lot of policies of the Democrats have created this major inflation issue. So I believe,
I think Governor Hogan, was extremely popular, and I think Kelly Schultz is cut from the same cloth.
He is very popular, and I think most Republicans would still vote for him again. And so and they're both very good people. I really like both of them a lot as human beings. And I'm not going to say which one I support, one or the other.
We got to keep moving. Yeah. We got to go on our next race. And this also goes to you, Laurie. It's the statewide race for Attorney General to succeed Brian Frosh. Mm-hmm. Montgomery County resident and former 21 This Week panelist Jim Shalek received the endorsement of the Washington Post, but he has a primary opponent, Michael Perutka. Who's going to win that primary, Laurie? Or do we know enough about it?
I think Jim Shalek will win. I was looking at the League of Women Voters Guide, which came out. Most of us should have received it in the mail this week. And Jim Shalek completed his forms that you're requested to fill out to be in this mailing, and Michael Perutka didn't do it. So I can't really tell you much about him. I've heard of him before, but Jim Shalek has really been around for a long time. He was the Board of Elections president for Montgomery County. He wants to be tough on crime. He supports the police. A lot of the things that I think most voters want. His platform is very good. So I think that he will get through the primary.
Thanks. Sam, let's turn and look at the Democratic candidates. Is it a surprise that former Lieutenant Governor and Congressman Anthony Brown is leading his rival District Court Judge Katie Curran O'Malley, given her pedigree that she is the wife of the former governor and daughter of the former long-term serving Attorney General? One would think that would give her an advantage in a statewide election.
I think Anthony Brown's exposure as lieutenant governor and his involvement in healthcare and his leadership in Congress goes a long way. And he's known throughout the state, within key markets that influence the election. He's been in the lead ever since he announced. And I think that has held through. In some parts of the state, just the identification with O'Malley is not exactly a winner.
So will it turn, I mean, a lot of times these elections turn on jurisdictions. Anthony Brown is from Prince George's County. District Court Judge O'Malley is from Baltimore and Baltimore County. Is it going to be a race between the two counties? Is that what it's going to shape up to be?
Well, I think you have 5 major jurisdictions involved, plus, growing populations in Southern Maryland as well. And I think that really will determine the race. Anthony Brown obviously is going to be very, very strong in Prince George's County. I don't know what the statistics are, but I know he gets support in Montgomery. He'll have support in Baltimore City as well. And I think her stronghold might be just Howard County. I think Anne Arundel also will favor Anthony Brown. I think Anthony is going to win.
Okay. Sam, I want to stay with you. And you mentioned earlier long-serving comptroller Louis Goldstein. And it's a mystery to me that there are only 2 Democrats running in the election for the comptroller's race. And the Republican candidate is unopposed. I mean, this position is one of the 3 most important elected positions in the state. And that said, State Delegate Brooke Learman is leading Bowie Mayor Timothy Adams. But does anybody know who the heck they are?
Well, they certainly do know her in Baltimore City, where, as you said, she has a background as a delegate. She has a law background. I think she's a great candidate. But her best tool, so to speak, or aid, is her dad, Terry Learman, who has been involved in state politics throughout the entire state, backing a lot of Democratic candidates in a lot of races. And I think that gives her greater name recognition than being on her own and the advantage, and she's going to win.
So, Laurie, given the poor name recognition, perhaps, of the Democratic candidate, does Harford County Executive Barry Glassman, who's running unopposed, have a chance in November?
Yes, he is well qualified. Glassman is for no tax increases. I think even Democrats say that they want that now. He's kept a AAA bond rating in his county. He's got 30 plus years of public service. He's also got experience at the legislative side. He was a state delegate and a state senator and a council member. He's really done it all. So he is well qualified. He's also been chosen in bipartisan fashion to head the Maryland Association of Counties. So he's a really great candidate, and I really hope he gets elected.
Yeah, Harford County is more and more important in growing, in its position near Baltimore. So he may have some name recognition going in, but we got to turn to what is the most important race for Montgomery County residents, and that's the county executive race. There's not much data on it, so we're just going to have to go with, our best instincts on this. Sam, I'll start with you, and with the disclaimer that you are an ardent supporter of the current county executive, Mark Elrich. But let's be frank. When Tom Hucker got out of the race, didn't that hand the nomination to Mr. Elrich?
No, I think in the early polls that were produced back in February, with maybe a follow-up poll within the past week or so, Mark's figures have increased and his base has increased. And whether Tom was in the race or not, or Hans Riemer was in the race or not, was irrelevant. It's always been a 2-horse race. Got a guy who last election spent $5.4 million of his own money to get this seat. And the interesting thing is that he only raised $300,000 from supporters. And most of that $300,000 came from the business community. And because he's not a publicly funded candidate, it didn't take many people to raise that amount of money. Where on the contrast, you have Mark, who is a publicly funded candidate, the most one can contribute to his campaign is $250, of which $150 is matched. He's very close to maxing out. And it shows the difference in the races. On one side of the race with Mark, you have wide-based support throughout the entire county, deep into the roots, and a campaign that is being run in the roots with people going neighbor to neighbor, door to door, and showing that kind of support, which has been increased, plus the fact that for the past 4 years, he's done very well from the county, from crime to education to transportation. I mean, it's just no.
This is an unpaid political advertisement, Sam. I got to go on. I got to go on to Laurie. Laurie, tell us.
At this second, let me just finish this.
We got to go on.
Got to be scared when your opponent will spend $5 million. It ain't over, as Yogi Berra would say, till it's over, and that's how the Mark's people look at it.
Well, you didn't mention his opponent's name was David Blair, and he came within 77 votes. We only have a very short period of time, Laurie. Tell us about the Republican candidate, Reardon Sullivan, who is a Montgomery County businessman and chairman of the Republican Central Committee. He's an impressive guy.
He is very impressive. And as Sam said, it's not over till it's over in the general election, because he's going to beat whoever makes it through the primary. He's got a very commanding presence. He's been a great new president or chairperson of the MCGOP, making a lot of changes, increasing the database so we can reach more Republicans. We have more Hispanic American candidates than we've ever had before. He's reaching out in the community. Great guy, and he's the only Black person in the race. I think he's going to appeal to Democrats and Republicans. He's a moderate Republican. It's not like, I think some people will really be appreciative of many of his platform. He's really got some great ideas.
Thanks, Laurie. It looks like we've ran out of time. We're not going to be able to discuss whether inflation in the economy will be the most important election issue. We'll have to put that off till next week. So stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from the short break. Welcome back. Now with parting shots, Laurie Halverson.
Yes, I feel like we can't let this taping go without speaking about what happened yesterday and on Thursday in our very own state of Maryland. There was a shooting in a manufacturing facility where 3 people were killed. So I just want to send prayers and make sure everyone is aware that this happened. There's also a policeman injured. So, we've had 250 mass shootings in the United States. We all need to come together to find solutions.
Thank you, Laurie. Sam Statland, your parting shot.
Folks, you know that this is a Democratic primary and it's a non-presidential year, which means typically a lower voter turnout. I think we Democrats in Maryland have the opportunity to win every statewide office by showing up and voting. Soon in the mail, you're going to get your sample ballot. Please vote. And please do what you can by volunteering with all of the Democratic candidates. We need to take back the state of Maryland. And I think by doing so, we can even enact more legislation that will strengthen our ability to take some of these most dangerous weapons and off of the streets. Folks, let's vote. Let's vote Democratic. Let's take back the state of Maryland.
What position don't Democrats have, Sam? I mean, you can control the legislature.
Governor.
Yeah, how do you take it back? I mean, you've already got it.
All right, well.
The idea is to motivate people to action, right?
Okay. Well, thank you both, and thank you for tolerating my tirade. I guess I feel a little passionate about the issue. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.